Hill of Moriah. Golden text is, this is nothing else save the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel. For into his hand hath God delivered Midian and all the hosts. And that's Judges 7:14. So who want to give a recap of last week's lesson before we get started? What did we talk about last week? Don't everybody speak at one time, huh? Or everybody waiting on Doug? Doug said he tired of giving the recap. Every time he got to get a recap. Said he ain't the only one in class. So he gonna do it next week.
Well, we'll have to start off with morning study, Bible study of the evening. The main thing that we really talked about yesterday, last week, is that your faith has to be really strong because you never know when you're going to be called.
Yeah.
And this was what we talked about last Wednesday is that God called on a man named Gideon. And what we was discussing is why would you want to call on me?
Yeah.
And when he called on me, he didn't have doubt about what he wanted Gideon to do. Because he turned it down 2 or 3 times and he had to, well, maybe more than 2 or 3 times, but he just couldn't figure out why he wanted man. He wanted the angel to show signs and give him signs because he didn't really believe who he really was.
Yeah.
And this shows you that, he wanted to take it down because you don't have to be a strong person because he took the weakest man and made an army around him.
Yeah.
And he didn't really have to take a whole bunch of people to go by his back because he didn't want them to think that I don't know what we too far ahead.
Yeah, you running into this week's lesson, but that's good. That's good.
Just to recap it off, you got to be ready when you call.
Yeah. So we find out that Gideon was an old farm boy, and guess what? He was from a household pretty much of idlers, and God took Gideon, a farm boy, a scary farm boy, and told him he's going to be a mighty man of valor. And not only that, but he told him that I'll be with you. In other words, God is saying, I will equip you to do what I called you to do. And number 2, he also called him by what he wanted him to be. He didn't call him scary while he was in there hiding, doing this little weak thing. He called him a mighty man of valor. Now what we have to understand is fear and faith don't go together. Because as he was hiding, guess what? He was fearful. But you find that God was telling him things and revealing things to him to strengthen his faith. So we have to understand in this faith walk, it's important for us to push fear out the way. But so many times we allow fear to push our faith out the way. For the simple fact, people during this pandemic, they done went everywhere they wanted to go but church. They have. They'd have been to the beach, they'd have been on vacations, they did everything. They had faith to do what they wanted to do. But when it's time to do what God has asked them to do, now they're fearful. So we have to understand this walk we have with God is a faith walk.
Amen.
The only way we can please God is through our faith. And really the only way to receive what God is trying to give to us is through faith. Because anytime we allow doubt to creep in, then we get fearful. And some of us right now have missed what God has had for us and was ready to give us because we allowed fear to stop us from doing whatever he called us to do. So in this lesson, you'll see that God is steady strengthening Gideon's faith. Yes, he's asking for signs and wonders, but in the midst of the signs and wonders, God is steady strengthening his faith, and this is what we'll see. Because God is going to use a scary farm boy to run the Midianites and out of their territory. Any questions so far?
And one thing about, the main thing that about it is that, you know, when we read it and we say it all the time, is that he's not sending them in there alone. Even though he said, I'm going to take you with an army.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing is that he said, I'll be there. I'll be there.
There you go. God said, I'm going to be there.
I'll be right there.
That's all you need to know right there.
Right there.
That he is going to be there with you.
Amen.
You don't need nobody else but Jesus. What?
Too, like I say, he'll be with you, and he's showing too, in this lesson too, that you can always depend on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can always depend on God,
Amen.
no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how many you have, God is the main thing. He's showing, and we've talked about it this year many times. It don't take many to do a big thing. It don't take many. And you know, as Pastor always said before, when he first came here, he asked for a certain amount, but it don't take many to do a great thing. Only you let God use it.
Amen.
Y'all have witnessed it right here in this church what God will do.
Brother Teacher, can you go, I want to go back and get on just something that Deacon Doug Jackson brought up in his sermon of last week, and that is the questioning by Gideon of God. I know we touched on this last week. I want to just touch on it again this week. How do we feel? What do we think? What's Gideon wrong to question God? Are we right? Do we have a right? Do we, as God's servant, have a right to question what we believe He's saying to us? Do we?
I would say,
We get be raised and coming up.
As we say, you know, we do have a right to ask God what is going on. As long as we don't go to him with no foolishness in our asking, you know, because if it's something we don't understand, it's something we want, and it's something we're going through, I believe we have the right to go to him and talk to him why things are going on like they are going. I do believe we have that right to do that.
Okay, Reverend Alexander, then Mrs. Bucks.
I'm going to piggyback off what Deacon Reed just said. I feel we do have a right to question God, but, you know, just, and really what you're going through, and you might not understand why you're going through what you're going through, then you kind of ask the Lord, like, Lord, why am I going through this thing? What are you trying to show me? I don't understand, you know. Maybe the Lord may have to enlighten me so that I can understand it, but as far as questioning him, depending on where you're going to before, you do have a right to question God. Especially if it's something that is in your life you don't understand why it is.
Okay. Mrs. Bucks.
I agree also. And in my spiritual walk with him too, not only do we have a right to question him, I think our growth comes when we learn to sit still and listen to the answer. Because sometimes we're so busy talking that we don't give that quiet time to God just to be still. And when he'll send people into our lives too to help us to understand what we're going through. and help us to know that we need to get deeper into the word as we go through it to get a better understanding. And know that those are signs of him in our day-to-day walk.
Okay, Deacon, oh,
Yes, Sister Barbara J.
Sister Barbara, and then Lost Tax.
I think we also have a right, even if our question seems foolish to you, of what we say, do thus and so, and you two, what, for real? Foolish question, you know what I'm saying? I think that he will get answers in that, but as long as you don't go like, I am the Lord, you do as I say, you know, why you tell me to do that, you put an attitude, you can't take an attitude to it.
Okay.
I think that when you pray and ask God for something, you need to wait on his answer. I don't think, in my opinion, that you might have the right to question him, but I don't think that you need to question him because he's going to deliver on his promise alone that, you know, that he's going to take care of it. So I just don't think that, you know, it's like God, why? We all have met.
Mother?
Well, I have a question though,
Well,
because he has sent me places, you know, that I wonder why when he sent a sharecropper's daughter.
Come on.
all right.
to these places. He sent me to a founder there in Buffalo, New York. There was people from all over, lawyers and doctors, and I was the keynote speaker. And when they stood up, they told like they hailed from this college, and I hailed from here and all that. And I'm sitting there, the last one to get up, I said, now, but I was comforted because I trusted him. And when I got up, I said, I don't have too much to boast about, like you two folks. I said, but one thing I do have is nobody can take from me. I got Jesus. And everybody in the building stood to the feet. So where did y'all find this money? You know, so it all depends on, you know, the person. I say, you know, we have to question him sometimes, but trust him.
Amen.
Trust and verify. Reverend Jones?
Yeah, I think it's no problem questioning God. Because God said my thoughts.
Wait, go back and say what now? Just start over, that's all I'm asking.
Actually, I don't think there's any problem questioning God. He said that, because he said, my thoughts are not higher than your thoughts. My ways are not like your ways. So there would be, I question for clarity. I question him for understanding. I may question because I'm hurting. But he knows my heart. He knows that my questions are not questions of, what should I say, well, there might be, my pain may ask me ask a question that will be emotional. Okay? But my love, it doesn't take away from my love for him, that I love him. The Lord doesn't take away the fact that I trust him and believe in him. My question is why? Explain to me, Lord.
Yes, I understand.
Let me understand.
Okay, so, anyone else? Anyone else?
Yeah, I think that you should question that because the reason why I say is that it's just like in the lesson here, you have to ask questions because you got so much false teaching and preaching going on. You don't really actually know who to trust. But if you say, God, can you show me a sign, which is really asking the who question, yes, I think you should ask you should question.
Jesus says the evil in the first generation that asks for a sign. I'm just pushing right now. Don't pay me no mind. I'm going somewhere with it. Anyone else? So how does 8 people that responded? How do you explain that to me as a young convert or someone that is on the fence about being converted, submitting to Christ?
a newcomer?
Yeah, he said, I don't believe.
Oh, as a newcomer? Well, I would explain it this way. I would just simply say that, as a newcomer, there are going to be some times you're going to go through some things in your life, and you might not understand why you're going through. But I would say you can, and if the conversation, your question, God said, if you have a question for the Lord, just ask. Be honest. You know, just say, Lord, I don't understand why I'm going through this. You know, please, you know, show me or enlighten me as to why am I going through this. But I would also encourage the new convert to trust Him. And I said, whatever you're going through, and you might not understand it, and if the Lord doesn't answer you right then and there, still trust Him, because He's not going to leave you. The Bible says that He has not seen the righteous forsaken, nor the seed begging bread. So I just say trust Him.
Okay. So, but who are you? Who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah.
I think I'm your brother in Christ.
I'm not a believer.
That would be, if I was trying, well, not trying, if I was witnessing
Don't let them get quiet.
to somebody, and they were walking through that, I would be trying to lead by example and feed them with the word, and then also too, while we're telling them to trust, we're looking around and see if there's a natural need that they know. You know, like you said, if you're trying to feed them with the word and they're hungry physically, I want to feed them also, or let them know where the resources are. If I can help you, who can? So
I mean,
that,
okay. At my best, I'm a poor example of someone involved.
okay. You can always help them with the word, like you said, the basic.
And that's what I'm trying to do. I had seven items in what I believe. It really doesn't matter what we think or what we believe.
Mm-hmm.
What did God say?
Right.
That we need to be able, we can pull these verses and these sayings out. However, can we back it up with text?
Okay.
People can argue with us all day. It's hard to, the food doesn't, the Bible says it does. Argue with God. Doug came the closest when he said, you don't know, you got to be careful when you believe you're hearing God. 1 John 4 says that, again, we allude to this last one, try the Spirit, by the Spirit. Don't listen to every spirit that comes to you and think that it's God telling you something. So I wanted to push you all to the point to get beyond I think and I believe. God said in this text, and that's where we want to go as theologues, people who, students of God. We want to get closer to Him by studying His Word so that when people come to us, we have an answer. If we don't have an answer, well, let me call Reverend Jones, let me call Sister Reeves, let me call Brother Roberts. So I might not have the text, but I know someone that does. So that's what I wanted to capture that we didn't capture last week. So the answer is, and it is okay.
All right. All right, so we'll start with lesson text. Verse 9 said, and it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, arise, get thee down unto the host, for I have delivered it into thine hand. But if thou fear to go down, go thou with Phurah, thy servant, down to the host. So in verse 9 it says, and it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, what was the same night? What had just happened? And all y'all got these books, and all y'all these expensive books, and all y'all come to Bible study, and y'all ain't read y'all lesson.
Is it really the Midianites that really take over, or?
And is a conjunction, which means, guess what, we got to go back up. Because it's connecting to the verses above. So what just happened? We find out that Gideon had too many people. Did you raise your hand back there, Brother Broadway?
Kelly did.
Come on, you raised your hand, Sister Kelly?
Yeah, I mean, you just said it.
Well, just come on.
That the Lord told them he had to, but he had like the whole verse of the Lord to tell them he had too many people.
So he had too many people. He told him he got to thin them out. So I think he went from, 22,000 or was it 30,000?
He had 32,000, but 22,000 was back to 11. They were scared and fearful, so 11 with 10. And then the Lord told him he still had too many.
Now everybody want to talk at one time. So he had too many. And the Lord told him, cut on back. And he cut them all the way down to 300. And then after they got down to 300, he armed them with what? Trumpets, jars, and a light. And then after they got their trumpets, their jars, and their lights, the Lord said, now go down there and fight. Well, I ain't got no sword. He gave me a trumpet, a jar. There you go, Mother. And watch this. He told him, go down there and fight. He said, but if you yet scared, no, he told him to Gideon, no, take your servant with you. But listen to he said, arise, get thee down unto the host. Watch this. He said, for I have delivered it into thine hand. He had already delivered it into their hand. See, sometimes, well, I didn't even say sometimes. God has already done what he said he's going to do. It's for us to possess the land. When the children of Israel was going to the promised land, the land was already given unto them. It was already their land. All they had to do was go and possess it. God has already given us promises in this Bible. All we have to do is possess it. But we find, like everybody else, we have a fear problem, which turned out to be a faith problem. Our whole belief system is messed up. And that's why it seems like God ain't the same God as he was when he was giving sight to the blind and opening up the Red Sea. Because our belief is the problem. It ain't God that's the problem. It's us that's the problem. No, it's our faith. And here it is. God said, I done told you at least 3 times already. And he told him again. He keep reassuring them that I have delivered these people unto you. Now he got 300 people fit to go fight 135,000 people. In fact, the text said the camels looked like it was so many they couldn't count. They looked like the sand in the sea. And you got 300 people fit to get in the mix with these people. So he said, now if you're still scared, take your servant.
I think right there, God knows our shortcomings. So he poses, he gives Gideon a way out. He gives Gideon grace because he knows that Gideon is still afraid. If he wasn't, he wouldn't have took the servant with him. And we learn as we go further in the text that he did take the servant, which says us that there's nothing wrong with having somebody there for us. And we don't see that this servant did anything. He didn't do anything.
He just went with it.
Sometimes you just need someone to be there for you. For confidence, for reassurance. God is spirit, so we cannot see him, although we can feel him. We can see his handiworks. And sometimes when we have something tangible, it's a little bit more easier for us to hold on to the promises of God.
But not only that, Pastor, but it's not it's not in there. You know, it seems like they send a servant with me to someone else to reassure him that God said this. You know, I heard it too, you know, even though they don't say that, but a lot of times when there's two, and we hear things, did they really say that? They were afraid?
Servant didn't hear.
No, servant didn't hear.
No, he was a servant.
He told him go get the
So
servant.
go get it.
To go down
If
with
you
him.
need, if you still need,
All right.
if me talking face to face with you, is not enough
Mm-hmm.
for you to get up and go,
Mhm.
then go get the servant. And he said the servant, he could have picked anyone. Why didn't he tell him a family member? Why didn't he told him a servant?
Yeah, you gotta pick the right person.
So it was somebody that he had confidence in.
Everybody can't go with you. Everybody can't go. You gotta make sure you pick the right one. And you be wise to pick the one that God told you to pick.
Yeah.
Verse 11 said, and thou shalt hear what they say. So he said, go down there and take your servant and listen to what these people fit to say. He said, and afterwards shall thine hands be strengthened to go down unto the host. So he said, after you hear what they say, then you will be encouraged to go down there and do what I called you to do. He said, then went he down with what? Pharaoh, his servant, unto the outside of the armed men that were in the host. So now he went to the outside, the perimeter of the armed men of the enemy. So he's close. He said, and watch, and the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along in the valley like grasshoppers for multitude. And their camels were without number, as the sand by the sea sighed for multitude. So there's a whole bunch of them out there. But every Wednesday you come here with your phone on and you come late. We're going to have to fix this. Okay. He said, so again, now they came. Now notice, he couldn't have been too scared if he got that close to all them people and it was just two of them. See how his faith is being strengthened by just obeying what the Lord tell him to do. He said, and when Gideon was come, behold, there was a man that told a dream unto his fellow, and said, behold, I dreamed a dream, and lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midian, and came unto a tent, and smote it, that it fell and overturned it, that the tent lay alone. And his fellow answered and said, this is nothing else save the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash. He said, a man of Israel, for into his hand hath God delivered Midian and all the hosts. It was done. But the Lord allowed him to hear what his enemy already knew. And again, he was to an earshot to hear. It wasn't like these two men were screaming across the camp to one another. So he heard already that they was already defeated and delivered, because they was talking amongst themselves about the dream. He said, and it was so, when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and interpretation thereof, that he worshiped and returned to the host of Israel and said, arise, for the Lord hath delivered into your hand the host of Midian. So what happened there?
He would be victorious.
Mm-hmm.
So then God was given confirmation after he heard it from his fellow that he delivered
Yeah.
the nation to him.
God told him they was delivered, then he confirmed it when he told them to go down there
Right.
And take your servant with you and listen to what they're talking about. And they said the same thing. They had been delivered unto Gideon by the Lord.
So Gideon was afraid to go down by himself, is that correct?
Had to be because he took his servant with him. Yeah. He took the Lord on his arm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But even with the servant with him, each step that he took, though, his faith,
Yeah.
stronger and stronger.
Yeah. He just needed his buddy to go with him.
Yeah. Cool. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, his courage got real strong.
Yeah. And that's what it was. He witnessed what the Lord has said.
The thing is, sometimes all we have to do is begin to do what the Lord said. We don't even have to finish it for him to make good on his end part. The problem with many of us as God's children is that we don't have the faith to get up and move. If we would just move in the direction that God is telling us, just move that way.
Yeah.
Then some of us will get the breakthrough that we've been praying for. Some of us will come out of the pit that we're in and we've been in for so long. If we would just move. And that's easier said than done because sometimes I can visualize my breakthrough. Listen to what God is telling this man. Number one, you got 32,000 men to start off with. You dwindle that down to 300 men. 1% of what he started with. Now go and fight against army. That number nearly 200,000 strong. Sometimes our breakthrough, our victory, doesn't even seem realistic from our vantage point because we're so close to the storm that we can't see. We can't see the rainbow at the other end because we're in the eye of the storm. So if we could just, if we don't get nothing else, if we could just begin to operate. Look, Gideon was still failing. After God don't allow the fleece to be wet and the ground to be dry, the ground to be wet, the fleece to be dry, all of this, and then one sign that we're not specifically told what it was, but it did. Even after all this, he still needs somebody that he can see. After all of this, after 3 miracles, he still needs a little help. As he's going, he's becoming stronger and stronger. And that's with everything that we do. I think one time I asked Sister Robinson, did you start out? Everybody likes her soothsayer. Did you start out that good? No, it took, a few times or over the course of years to perfect what she's doing. And God's no different. Until we practice trusting him, each time, although it was God's grace that didn't consume him, because when you have Deborah and Barak, Barak doesn't get the victory that God intended him to have because of his lack of faith. So the unknown in all of this is God's grace. We use the analogy or the illustration of Elizabeth with Zacharias and Mary on last week. Mary questioned God. Nothing happened. Elizabeth's husband questioned God. He can't talk for 9 months. And then after 9 months, when he finally said something, he said what the Lord told him to say in the first place. That's the first thing that came out of his mouth. They all around talking about what this baby going to be named. And after 9 months of not being able to say nothing, what was on his lips was what God had placed on his heart and gave him time to think about it. So sometimes God puts us in a pit, in a predicament for a time so we can think about who he is. And when he finally brings us out, then we can shout. And sadly, for some people, that's still not enough. And we'll get to the shout a little later.
Verse 16, and he divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put a trumpet in every man's hand with empty pitchers and lamps within the pitchers. And he said unto them, look on me, and do likewise. And behold, when I come to the outside of the camp, it shall be that as I do, so shall ye do. He said, when I blow with the trumpet, I and all that are with me, then blow ye the trumpets also on every side of all the camp, and say, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. So Gideon go back and said, come on, it's time to ride. It's time to get our trumpets, it's time to get our jars, and it's time to get our lights. But we find out that he split up the group in 100s, and he surrounded the camp of the enemies. And he said, when I blow my trumpet, y'all blow y'all trumpet. And we gonna ride on down there. That was the instructions. And again, it only works if you go. It only works if you obey. The Bible only works if we obey. It only works if we follow the instructions. It only works when we listen to the set man of God, that we will be delivered from our enemy.
Black too, you know, like I said, when they surrounded them and they all had trumpet, it made it seem like it was more men than what it really was. You know, the 300 to them might seem like it was thousands of men coming in, because usually they say back on a chart, usually back in the day, only one person had a trumpet, and he would blow it, you know, chart. All of them had a trumpet, and you know, and they had their lights, which made it seem like the lights had surrounded the whole camp. And you know, it just seemed like 300, man, it seemed like 30,000 people was coming in to get them. And they came in at dark, that's why they had their light. And you know, like I say, they were sleeping in there, and you know, when somebody's gonna come in and jump on you, and while you sleep, you're all confused and well, you don't know what to do.
You tell he read his, tell he did his lesson.
Oh yeah.
but yeah, and that's what Bible study is for, to bring out what you learn. Anybody else want to add to? Says, so Gideon and the 100 men that were with him came unto the outside of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch, and they had put newly set the watch, and they blew the trumpets and brake the pitchers and that were in their hands. And the 3 companies blew the trumpet and brake the pitcher and held the lamps in their left hands and the trumpet in their right hand to blow withal. And they cried, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. Now, Deacon Reeves already told y'all, they came in the middle of the night, in the midst of them switching guards and shifts. So the people were asleep. Usually people fight in the daytime. But being that he only had 300 men, the Lord then disguised it. And the Lord then gave him a plan on, this is how we gonna strategize this attack. And if you notice, they only came unto the border of the camp. They didn't ride all the way down in it. They came to the border. Then they blew the trumpet, shouted, and they threw down the glasses and then the light. So we find out later on the text that these people wake up and they startled, just like, you know, Deacon Reed said. They don't know what's going on. But then they hollered to him, the sword of the Lord, we up in here. But they wasn't in there. They was on the outside. They just sitting back watching and watch what they watched. It said 300 blew the trumpets. Okay. Okay. And they stood every man in his place round about the camp, and all the host ran, and they cried and fled. Watch it. And the 300 blew the trumpets, and the Lord set every man sword against his fellow, even throughout all the hosts. And the host fled to Bethshitha in Zereth, and to the border of Abimaholah, unto Tabah. They didn't do nothing but what God told them to do. They didn't pull a sword. They didn't stick a person. The people killed themselves. Killed each other because they were scared. Sister Bush said they were scared, and they scared themselves to death. They didn't kill each other. And they sat back there and watched it. Yeah, with the lights on. Come on, Deacon Jackson.
But you know, that's just like that, in the middle of the night when you're sleeping like that, and the alarm in your house go out. You get all confused. You jump all up, you get where your sticks at and everything.
No, I keep my stick next to me. I keep several sticks next to me at the drum. They ready too. But I let them be down there. I said when they come up here, that's when they got a problem. Yeah, I ain't gonna go looking for them. Yeah, I let the dog do his part. But you're right though. Yeah, when something go off, even like the smoke detector, you jump up like what? Yeah. You know, my daughter, she got a habit of taking baths in the middle of the morning, 2, 3 o'clock, and I don't know how she get that water so hot. But when she come out the bathroom, the smoke detector right there, and the steam from the bathroom rolls up into the smoke detector, and it's I'll be like, girl, your skin gonna fall off your TK pass that hot. All right, so we went through the scriptures, right? So these questions shouldn't be that hard. We should get through these questions real fast. Any questions before we get started? Number one, what was the point of God earlier telling Gideon to reduce the size of his army? Why did God tell Gideon he had to reduce the size of his army? You didn't raise your hand, mother. Now you've been an educator for how long? You just can't blurt out stuff. Yeah. Come on, mother.
Because he didn't want to get the big head and think he did on their own by their power and strength.
Yeah. He wanted to know that God was with him, and it was God who delivered them people, not them, and not by their might. Now, was you going to say something?
I was going to read page 15, but the answer is.
Okay. We just need to get the answer.
The last sentence says that God did not want Israel to conclude that it was by their own power or military strength that they had defeated the Midianites.
Okay. That's good. Number 2 says, why do you think Gideon was so fearful? Why do you think Gideon was so fearful? Come on, Sister Kelly.
I think because he was fearful and discouraged because he was more focused on the things going on, like the trouble, child, and tribulation that was going on at the time. And he also started to
Okay.
And it was something he had never did.
Mm.
He was really fearful because of the fact that he was mad because, God had reduced his army to only 300 people. So now, you take all these people away from me, and that ticked him off. At that time, he didn't realize, why, God had taken the people away from him like he did.
Okay. So again, and both of y'all right, y'all took the lesson and y'all applied what y'all learned to get the answer. And that's what you call application. And that's what we try to learn to do, to apply what we have read to answer the question. So Sister Kelly took what she learned last week, that he thought he was least and all that, and she brought that in with this week's lesson to answer the question. And then, again, Glosson ended up with the second part of it, but his people was reduced. So again, both of them answered the question correctly. Anybody else have some input? Nisa? No. 3 is, how are the Midianites and their allies described? They said they look like grasshoppers. You ain't got to read it. We already got the answer. Ain't no sense taking up a lot of time to read a whole paragraph to get to the point that this grasshopper they look like. Do all y'all agree?
Amen.
Okay. Says, what was the substance of the dream of the Midianite century?
In the dream, it had already been like he was, the Lord had already predetermined what was going to happen. So that's how the Midianites and the allies described it. It's like, wow, it's been predetermined what's going to happen already.
But what was the substance of that dream that predetermined the outcome? Okay, yeah. So through the dream that the little barley cake that knocked down the whole tent. Ain't no little cake go knock the tent down. So the interpretation of the dream, like you said, it showed that they had already been delivered into the hands.
Real Black to it, said just a little bit to take care of a lot.
Yeah. Here's what we have to understand, and here's what we got to know. As long as we got Jesus on our side, there's nothing we can't do. We always think we need a whole lot of people, but all you need is Jesus. That's all you need. Whatever it is that God told you to do, all you got to do is do it. Because he said he with you. Lord, I'm with you always. So all we got to do is do it. But so many times we want to get this person, that person to come along. Guess what? He didn't tell everybody to do it. He told you.
So that's why I was saying he was going to take over the Midianites even if he didn't have 300 people.
Yeah.
He already broke down the trials and even without any 2 people.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
At the same time, God was giving Gideon encouragement and sending someone with him encouragement. At the same time, he was putting doubt in the Midianites' mind. They didn't start thinking now, well, we didn't have these dreams about the people.
Yeah.
And so God is working in both ways for the people.
Amen.
Number Number 5 says, how was the soldier's dream interpreted, and how did Gideon respond? So again, we pretty much answered that. How was the dream interpreted? That they was already given into the hand of Gideon. And then what did Gideon say? The Lord has already delivered unto us. Yeah. God been working before I got here. Number 6, what items were given to each of Gideon's soldiers? We got a trumpet, whatever.
And the 53.
A trumpet, a jar, and a lamp. That was their tools to go to work.
So I wonder when they were dropping the glass in the jar, it almost sounded like that.
It made all that noise, yeah, you know. That was the 52 fake out. Yeah. You know, 300 glasses falling at one time sound real loud. Pow, pow. Seven, when did Gideon's troops attack and why?
Element of surprise.
They attacked at nighttime, Sister Bud said, and it was an element of surprise. Y'all agree with that?
Amen.
Amen. So what happened in the camp of Midian when Israel attacked? So they got to running and sticking and killing each other. See, it was dark, and they hollering they up in the camp, and they just killing each other. They don't even recognize who they killing. They scared for their lives. Not even fire, just hear a gunshot. Yeah. Oh, you ain't got to do that. Let somebody get up and start running on cross here. You see about 9 people jump up and start running before they know what they're running for. That's what happens. Okay, number 9. What were the long-term results of this battle? 40 years of peace, Sister Bud said, was the long-term results of the battle. That's all right. And it says, what did the people later want Gideon to do? Mother said, be the king. See how easy it is to answer the questions when you know what the text says? You ain't got to worry about scribbling and scratching it in order in the book.
I write this lesson so well because this lesson was like us here at Progressive.
Right.
Yep, this was just like us here. You know, how much you can do with the few that have faith.
Yeah. A little faith go a long way. And again, that's what we must learn to do. Number 1, we must learn to do what God told us to do. And number 2, if we say that God has placed Pastor Spencer here, then we must follow his leadership because he's the set man of God, just like Gideon was. And by the people listening to Gideon, when he came back with the report and went, guess what they could have did just like the children of Israel did when the spies came back and said, no, man, there's too many of them out there. They out there like grasshoppers. They camels all over the place. They didn't say that, did they, Mom? They said, come on, let's go. Let's go with these lamps, these jars, and this trumpet. Yeah, they was picked out. They was chosen. They was like Bone Crusher. They was never scared. They wasn't scared. They were ready to fight. Yeah, they was ready to fight. They was ready to handle business. Yeah, they said they tired of this foolishness. You know, they ain't gonna keep beating us up and taking our food and all that stuff. We ready to do something about this. And guess what? We should be tired of the devil working on us. We should be ready to do exactly what God told us to do. We should be more than tired of living like second-hand citizens when God had already said who we are. Any questions? Still on good time. Any questions, Brother Broadway?
Yeah, we do have a question. I'm working out here. Because it is a serious question. I mean,
Okay.
deep question. So, okay, my contact her. Okay, so, question is, and this is just from one of our listeners,
Mm-hmm.
says, if a woman,
Mm-hmm.
we've heard this question posed 1,000 times to Christians, if a woman gets brutally assaulted
Mhm.
and raped and becomes pregnant, if she decides to get
An abortion.
rid of the innocent child, does she get cast in the air? Because one of the commandments thou shalt not kill. I want to first of all, thank the listener for that question. We always submit on Wednesday if you have questions either related to the lesson or not related to the lesson, ask, because we want to be of service. Jeremiah tells us that God knew us even while we were in our mother's womb.
Mm-hmm.
Psalm 139 says something similar. Exodus 21, 22 and through 25 speaks and says that if a man harms a woman while she is pregnant and her fruit depart from her, that's King James Version, in other words, she loses the baby, then that man shall be guilty and punished according to the law.
Mm-hmm.
Simply put, just like I would answer, and I have answered the question on gay, lesbian individual, gay, lesbian individual. Simply put, abortion is still murder. It's sobering. It's difficult. I don't know about you. Maybe you all are more religious than I am, more spiritual than I am. I have some ambivalence and the answer and what I feel in my spirit. Now, again, I'm going back to what I told you all not to do. I'm speaking like Paul, after the manner of man, in parentheses, which means that take this, base this, that's my opinion, and not what God said. I would have a hard time if a woman came to me for counseling and advice in that situation. For me to say, well, the right thing to do, and maybe I will say that, is to have faith. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to maximize her grief. And although no matter how much she loves that child and we have, this is not a unique case. It's not out of the norm. Sad to say, it happens a lot. However, no matter how much she loves that child, it's a constant reminder of her plight, of her pain, of her hurt, of the scar, a scar that will never ever go away. And like I said, simply put, abortion is a sin. However, it doesn't matter what you do it for. We try to rationalize when we do things to make us feel better about us doing it. If I want to do something, I'm going to rationalize it. It's just the sin. I'm like David, it's just a sin that's in me. Let me get Deacon Boston Jackson, and then I'll come back to my train of thought.
So if what you're saying is like, abortion is murder, then does that make suicide a sin? Is that
Yes, yeah, without doubt. We've covered this, I think, extensively, at least once a year. So, yeah, suicide is a sin. Abortion is a sin. However, it is no different than any other sin that we commit. We categorize sin. And most of it's based on the Old Testament. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and some of the New Testament. Dr. Morgan, doing a revival, said, capital punishment is both old and new. Jesus said, the right hand offended, cut it off. And that has the same connotation as the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. However, from God's perspective, when He gives you the command in Exodus 20, those 10 commandments, of which they are a small part of a ton of other commandments that carry the same penalty. So whether it is the lie, whether it is the suicide, whether it is the abortion, the adultery, the fornication, the covetousness, for the wages of sin, singular, does not qualify, does quantify. For the wages of sin is death, eternal separation from God. That's what death is. We don't say, there's no qualifier in Romans 6 and 23 that says, for the wages of adultery is death. For the wages of abortion is death. For the wages of lying is death. No, for the wages of sin against a just God is death. Now, that is the difficult part. We make other people's sin worse than our sin because it makes us feel better about ourselves. Yeah. Justified. Yeah. Pastor's doing this, but I'm only doing that.
Oh, that's what we do.
We do it on a daily basis. We're like the publican and the priest that went up to pray. The priest said, I thank God I'm not like this sinner here. But the publican said that I would not even lift up his head in the sight and the presence of God. Showed humility. And Jesus said, which one of these men went down to their house justified? It was the tax collector who people said was an outcast, who was ostracized by the community, who was a pariah by his own people. When we read the Bible, we can't, and I think I heard Reverend Jones say, we bring our cultural understanding to the Bible when we read. Yeah, but that does not make the Bible a cultural book. It does not change. It has nothing to do with an egalitarian society. That's not the way God created things. So let's just walk it back and take it systematically. What is abortion? It is a killing, right? No matter how we can theorize, philosophize, and debate when life actually happens. Okay, but the taking of a life is sin. What is a lie?
Sin.
What is adultery?
Sin.
What is covetousness?
Sin.
What is disrespecting your mother and your father?
Sin.
What is the penalty for lying?
Death.
What is the penalty for adultery?
Death.
What is the penalty for murder? What is the penalty for covetousness? And all 300 plus other laws that God gave us. So, but then Paul, in his bipolar state, says that the things I want to do, I don't do them. And the things that I don't want to do, I find myself doing those things. Who can save me from the body of this death? He comes right back and says, thanks be to God for our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who has given us the victory. So even though all of those things are true, don't allow anyone to guilt you out of your right to live a normal life based upon a choice that you make. Because although Romans 6 and 23 says, for the wages of sin is death, and then God said, I'm going to make a blanket statement. If you're wondering, does that apply to you? It comes back in Romans 3 and 23 and says, all. That's an absolute. All have sinned and come short of the glory. So now, if you're wondering if you're better than the abortionist, or if you're better than the murderer, if you're better than the pedophile, then according to Romans 3 and 23, you're not.
You're grouped in the same.
And based upon Romans 6 and 23, you have the same punishment. It's no 25 to life for you because you did it, because it was subjective, and based upon a jury of it. And when it relates to us, not our doggone peers, because half of them don't look like us. My peers are in this room, they look like me. They associate with things that I do. Those are peers. But 9 times out of 10, if we go to be tried, we'll be tried by maybe 10 plus 1. At the most, 10 plus 2, at the most 9 and 3. We're not going to get 12 that look like us. If we did, then there would be less of us in jail.
Amen.
Because there would be a jury of our peers who could relate to what we go through and can relate to our frame of reference and our frame of thinking. So since all have sinned, according to Romans 3 and 23, and come short of the glory, since the wages of sin is not subjectively applied by God, we're all in the same boat. No big eyes and little U's. That means we're all on our way to hell. So to the listener that asked the question, yes, it is a sin. Do you have to go through with the pregnancy? I can only cut it straight and leave it and let God sort it out because it's above my pay grade. No, you do not. It will not cost you your salvation. It will not. Because for every Romans 3 and 23 victim, and every Romans 6 and 23 victim, there's a John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes, that's in the past. That means that once you apply faith in him, no matter, it covered past, present, and future sins. That whosoever, not whosoever is righteous, because none is righteous. Not whosoever has not committed or has not gone through the process of abortion, not whosoever who has not committed adultery, whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. So to answer your question pointedly, if you have it, then no. If your business is intact and you truly believe in God's Son, then you will not be condemned to hell. Because it said that he died for all sins. And many will apply faith in him. So all is another absolute. If Jesus could not save the suicide, if Jesus could not save the abortionist, if Jesus could not save the adulterer, if Jesus could not save the dope dealer, if Jesus could not save the prostitute, then he ceases to have died for all.
Come on.
Which means that he is not God. If there is anything that his death and his blood does not cover, then he is not the perfect Lamb of God. Because the perfect Lamb of God was slain before the foundation of the world was ever laid.
All right.
Because God already knew what we were capable of. So don't allow anyone to guilt you. Don't you penalize yourself for a moment in time. Because if God forgives you, who can hold a charge against you? And if they can, but what should it matter? They don't have a heaven or a hell to place you in, but God does. So, personally, I don't know. It would be contextual, and it would be situational. I would have to see the tone, the tenor, and the temperature of the individual that's coming. Who am I to place a life sentence over someone who's already been through so much? I don't think it's right. And you will have people, you will have pastors to do that. And it's not right. It's just not right. Again, if I walk out of here today, if I get into a Reverend Black, walk out of here and get hit by a car, you guys will have a good funeral for me and put me in heaven when you preach at my funeral. However, if someone has committed suicide, nobody wants to do the funeral, nobody wants to mention heaven. Here's the thing. We get gifts based upon people's opinion of us. And since God gave us the gift of salvation, we didn't work for it. We didn't clean the church for it. We didn't pray for it. We didn't preach for it. We didn't sing for it. So since, and I'm so glad, I'm thankful for this, because I will mess my salvation up every day, sometimes twice a day.
Come on.
I'm so glad that my salvation is not in my hands. My salvation is not predicated on what I do or do not do. My joy is, but my salvation is not. If we apply faith in Christ, it does not matter. And that's a tough pill to swallow, because that means that there was hope for Donald. That means that there was hope for Hitler, Mussolini, and every other dictator. There was hope for Nero, who burnt down the temple in 70 AD. Was he an instrument of God? Because it had already been prophesied. The answer to that is no. So hopefully, there's hope for Trump. There's hope for Trump. Look. It's called probability and statistics.
Yeah.
Okay? Can a person live a sinless life? Yes. because God said it.
Yeah.
But based upon probability and statistics, which I hated, it is highly unlikely that they will. I'll bet on that every day of the week. Y'all keep me out of money. That's show money there. They're sure if they're breathing, they're going to see it. Well, let me rephrase it. I'm sorry. Just as sure as we're breathing, we're going to see it. Okay? So hopefully, oh. I'm sorry, I got lost. Did that answer? Well, hopefully that answered your question. There was another question that you posed. We will get it next week. As always, we ask you all to interact with us here that are sitting in the building. We have a curriculum, but strengthening you in your walk with God is more important than us going over some answers in a book. So if you're struggling, just like this young lady may have been, or maybe she's asking for someone else, if you're struggling with issues, that's what we really want to deal with. That's what we want to try and address. Not based on what we're thinking. If it's what we think, we will tell you it's what we are thinking. We want to do it based upon what God said, to give you hope, because the goal, heaven is our goal.
All right.
And so, thank you for tuning in. Sorry, but good question. Uncomfortable to talk about, but that's what me as a pastor, as a child of God, as a leader, that's what I like to talk about, because that's not surface.
Right.
A lot of people will suffer in silence because they don't want to get the help that's available to them. There's help available to you.
Amen.
You just got to be vulnerable enough to trust God. Last thing, Deacon Middlebrook over at Great Friendship said that, you know what? He would say, you know what? God, if I was thirsty, could give me a drink of water. But what's more than likely going to happen is he's going to use you to give me a drink of water. So God uses people to help other people. And if you don't believe, pick up this book and just start reading.
Amen.
The dispensation of Emmanuel is over. It ended 33 AD on Calvary's cross. So Emmanuel is no longer with us. We have a paraclete, which is the word for Holy Spirit, which is the advocate, which dwells in us. In the Old Testament, God was above man. In the New Testament, God was Emmanuel with man. And now we're looking at what's called the dispensation of the Holy Spirit. You don't have to tarry and wait for the Holy Ghost to come. Because the Bible says you've already been given an earnest. The word earnest there means in the Greek means a down payment. Because we can't stand in this frail, fragile body. We can't stand the full power of the Holy Ghost. But we have access to it all the time. I'm sorry. I like to keep going.
We done? Well, we've been done.
The question came in late.
Well,
I have to prepare for it.
well, we got, and there's nothing wrong with it, because if a woman has a problem or the young lady has a problem, it's a problem. I would just tell her, I mean, if God has forgiven her, just take the grace and mercy. She needs to forgive herself. Because again, we all have done things that we are not proud of.
Amen.
You know, some people just won't say what they have done. And like you said, her sin ain't no different than my sin. And we like I said, we all in the same boat. Saved by grace. And then, like the songwriter said, the blood still works. And that will conclude our Bible study lesson for this evening. Amen.
All glory songs. We thank God for our visitor.
Amen.
Would you like to have anything to say?
All respect to the lesson, I couldn't find the scripture that said, one, sin
1,000.
It's in the gospel. Yeah.
How did that go? I forgot. I couldn't even find
One saved is for 1,000, a legion, and 10,000.
I put that in perspective of today's lesson, how he trickled down all those men, the 300, and all of them. That's our God. It works for the remnant.
Amen.
That's it.
That's 23:10.
Yeah, that's what.
That's 23:10.